We're here to give you a bit of a European vision on the topic of sustainability in the publishing sector, which, well, once again, is an extremely important topic, but just a word to clarify who we are. So, Federation of European Publishers, we are an umbrella organization. We represent 29 national associations of publishers of books, learned journals, educational materials from all over Europe, from 28 countries, mostly in the European Union. In Spain, Federación de Gremios de Editores de España is our member. We also have granted the status of guest member to Ukrainian Publishers Association as a tiny token of support after the Russian invasion. We deal with all matters that affect book publishers when it comes to European Union legislation. Through our members, we represent more than 6,000 individual publishers, and we're based in Brussels, in Belgium, because that's where the EU institutions are mostly based. So, what we're going to see in this half hour that we have available, first of all, I'll give you an overview of some very important pieces of legislation that are likely to affect in more or less bigger or smaller degree the publishing sector in Europe. Then I'll give you a few examples of good practices just to put the Spanish situation and the European situation in perspective. So what's being done in other countries across Europe regarding sustainability in the book sector. I'll give you some examples, especially with data from a survey that we made with our members about their sustainability awareness and practices. And then Anne will wrap everything up, giving you a lot of food for thought, looking at the big picture and the main axis for action, and but especially for reflection and the way forward. So, beginning with some bits of legislation, I think by now, already just for what we heard so far, you will have figured that the European Union deforestation regulation is something important and something you need to be aware of. So, if you remember one thing today, is the EUDR. It's there, it's coming, it's going to affect every single player in the book value chain everywhere in Europe, and that includes Spain, obviously. So remember EUDR. I'm not going to go into details. Among other things, we have done a few weeks ago a webinar. It's been recorded. Talk to the Federación de Gremios. They will tell you everything you need to know. But remember, books are in the scope. Application, the regulation is already in force. It entered into force in June last year. It starts applying on the 30th of December this year for medium and large enterprises, and at the end of June next year for small and micro enterprises. The idea is to prevent the entry in the European market of products that come from areas subject to deforestation and forest regulation. The means and the effectiveness might be arguable, but the overall aim of the European Union, and we see there are more and more pieces of legislation that look into sustainability, is to reduce as much as possible the environmental impact of our economic activities in Europe. So the idea is it will no longer be possible to put on the European market products that come from an area subject to deforestation and forest degradation. In our case, what it means is print books will have, if you want to sell print books, you will have to demonstrate that the woods, the trees that were cut to make the pulp, to make the paper, to make the books, were not in an area subject to deforestation or forest degradation. It means that everyone along the supply chain will have to retrieve and pass and check and pass along information to prove that the trees were not in an area subject to deforestation and forest degradation. It means a lot of work on gathering and handling information. It also means risk assessment, risk mitigation. It means a lot of work. I'm not going into the details, but it's going to be something with a huge impact. It's based on the notion of due diligence, which is a notion that more and more applies to different kinds of legislation. And the idea is that everyone along the supply chain has its share in the responsibility and also in the liability if something goes wrong. European Commission is trying to create the framework for smooth implementation through frequently asked questions, through a set of guidelines that have been they will be published soon, although it's 3 months that they've been, we're waiting for them soon, so we still don't know, but they're coming. The Commission is developing a digital information system that will allow the flow of information for the regulation, and the Joint Research Center of the Commission has published a map of global forest cover for 2020, because 2020 is the cutoff date for the deforestation. But anyway, there are still difficulties. We have been deeply engaged. We have a sustainability working group that deals with this and other matters. We have joined the Commission's deforestation multi-stakeholder platform, so we are really on a regular basis deeply engaged with this process. We collaborate with paper manufacturers, printers, and publishers of other printed matter at EU level. We have initiated a dialogue with them. We have this webinar, and we have distributed to all our members an information package dedicated. There are still many questions open. Again, I won't go into the details, but it means that there is a lot of complexity. Just think, for example, especially if you print outside of the EU, it's totally possible that right now the trees are being cut in Brazil, in China, somewhere, that will end up in your books. And if you put those books on the market after the 30th of December, you will need to accompany them with information about where these trees are being cut, maybe now. So you need to talk to your suppliers right away, because this is coming. There is a lot of political pressure because of the complexity to maybe postpone the entry into application, but until something like this happens, we have to work with what we know. And what we know is that at the end of this year, the regulation starts applying. So get in touch, talk along the supply chain, and also talk to your national surveillance authorities to see what understanding they have of the requirements, and to also ensure a smooth application. A few more pieces of legislation. Again, some of them have already been mentioned. And again, just to give you an idea, Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. This is for large companies. You see the numbers. And there are still 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the size of the companies. But basically, all large companies in Europe will need to counter the adverse, that is, the negative impact of their activities on human rights and environmental protection. So within 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the size of the companies, most large companies will need to do something to reduce the negative environmental impact of their activities, again, on the basis of the notion of due diligence. Then 2 more pieces of legislation. One, both of them have already been approved. One is already enforced. The other publication on the official journal is expected soon. Well, after formal adoption. But eco-design, the idea is to make, again, products placed on the EU market more durable, reusable, repairable, recyclable, energy efficient, and to address presence of harmful chemicals. For the time being, priority has been given to products such as some metals, iron, aluminum, steel, textiles, tires, and chemicals. There's a direct ban on the destruction of unsold textiles and footwear, but the Commission can adopt additional bans. And you never know, one day paper might be considered one of the products in scope for, like the regulation has everything in scope, but priority is given to certain sectors. For the time being, paper is not a priority, you never know. And also packaging and packaging waste regulations being mentioned already again. The idea is to reduce, in general, the use of packaging. For the time being, there are bans on certain plastic carrier bags and single-use packaging, that's especially in the food sector. But again, the trend is to reduce waste, reduce packaging. There is also, for example, a maximum empty space ratio of 50% for e-commerce packaging. It means that if you're, well, not you, but if the retailer was sending 2 books in a box this big with 80% of plastic fluffy balloon stuff, that will no longer be possible. Something else to bear in mind. So the idea is more and more regulation about the environment. We want to reduce the impact, the environmental impact of our economic activities that has consequences for business on a broad range of levels. So what are we doing already? As I told you, we have this sustainability working group. We started with a survey a few months ago. We got replies from 60 publishers and 11 publisher associations, big ones representing 80% of the market from 14. We had replies all in all from 14 countries. You see them here. See, we don't have replies from Spain. So again, guys, it's time to, react and act. We wanted to know how much sustainability is a priority in the publishing sector, survey existing practices, and have an idea of what the main challenges are. The survey has limits, of course, geographical, and also there's likely an element of self-selection. It's very probable that those who reply are those who already are aware and engaged in environmental things. So probably it's skewed a bit towards the positive. So we noticed that the majority of publishers are aware of green issues. Half of them are very aware, another quarter are a bit aware, and very few are not so aware, and among publishing associations, even more. But again, we don't have replies from everyone, but the majority are very aware of the importance of environmental matters. And 2/3 of the publishers that replied are already working on something related to sustainability, and more than 1 out of 5 are planning to start working on sustainability within the next couple of years. Again, and with publisher associations, 3/4 are already doing something about sustainability. What are they doing? These 8 publisher associations that are already working on sustainability, they do have some sort of working group, task force, committee dedicated to sustainability. The UK, we heard a direct testimony from the UKPA. We also have the Flemish, Belgian association, the Finnish, the French, the German, the Italian, the Dutch, and the Swedish association, who do have some sort of working group, environment committee or something. The French PA adopted an environmental charter for publishing. The German PA is working on a code of conduct. The Swedish PA has launched a book sector climate initiative. So we see these examples coming up. Concrete actions being taken by publishers. Usually the main matters are the use of recycled paper, which is very, very common, and also most of all, actually better than than recycled certified paper is extremely common among publishers. There's work on carbon footprint calculation, reduction, and/or offsetting. There's work on printing locally, printing on demand. There's work on the reduction of packaging. There are, of course, various challenges. The areas most difficult that publishers identify are use of paper, distribution, reducing emissions, and sorting out the use, figuring out the use of chemicals. Publishers report that the barriers they see to increasing their green engagement are either lack of time, data resources, but also sometimes lack of technical guidance and of dedicated service providers. And many of them also point out that they would appreciate some more support from the public sector, from their governments. Probably in Spain there is something being done, but there are other countries where this could be improved. And now I'll invite Anne to bring the whole thing together and well, again, stimulate a bit of conversation, give you some food for thought. So please, and thanks for your attention.
Well, thank you, Enrico, and I think we can all be grateful of the work that Enrico is doing to inform publishers, but also inform the European institution on the limits also that the industry may have in achieving some of the goals. I wanted to start to crack a joke is starting with sustainability, maybe air conditioning can be sometime not a bit lowered in public places like this. One category I haven't heard of is the readers. We're talking about the production chain, but what about the readers? I mean, how can we bring the readers to understand the interest of acquiring books which are more sustainable? And I think that there's a lot of conscientization that needs to be done at bookshop level, and to explain to the readers why a book may be a bit more expensive, but just because it's been more sustainably sourced. Or one of the questions that a lot of people will have, and it's, if I remember well, it's particularly important in Spain, is the question of returns. The book publishing sector requires an economy of supply. If the books are not in the bookshop, if for the author and the publisher, maybe it's not a catastrophe because maybe they will order via an online retailer, but that will be a catastrophe for the bookseller. And we need the booksellers, and the booksellers are very conscious also of their role in sustainability. The European and International Booksellers Federation has just recently issued a report on sustainability and what can be done, going through simple things like not giving plastic back to customers who buy a book. But they have to have books in supply to satisfy the customer. So how do we avoid the returns? I've read in the booksellers report that in Spain it can go up to 30% of the production which is returned to the publisher. There are some countries which have really lower level of returns. This is something where several publisher organizations have started to think, and maybe AI may be helpful there. I mean, we haven't spoken about AI yet. I think it's also the use of our content on AI can also be producing a lot of CO2. And we need to find a solution which is both fulfilling the needs of the readers and of the booksellers in having the books in stock in the shop, and at the same time being realistic in what you can sell. I heard Jorge speak about print on demand. Obviously, print on demand cannot be, doesn't fit all genres of publishing. And so we will the publishers will have to make decision whether they go offset of print on demand and maybe also for different cycle of the life of a book. In the Netherlands, where the book sector is quite well organized because they have this organization called Centraal Boekhuis, which gathers both booksellers and publisher. Once you have gone through the first exploitation of your book, they will keep a couple of copies, but if there's let's say because there's an event that requires that, and that the booksellers want more copy, they are able to print really rapidly and spread it. Obviously, it's slightly easier in a country like the Netherlands, which is smaller than Spain or other EU countries. So that's also part of the problematic. We need also maybe to educate the customers, the readers. Do they need, I mean, if the book is not in the shop, do they need it within 12 hours, 24 hours? Maybe, can they wait a little bit? Are they going to read the book immediately? How do we deliver? During COVID, we have been extremely, the booksellers have been extremely astucious in the way they would deliver. We had example in Germany of people going on their skateboards and delivering books across cities. There are examples also of cooperation between bookshops where the bookshop are not putting their stock together, but what they do is that they mutualize the information. So if they don't have the book, they will tell you to go into another bookshop within a limited area, or that the bookshop can deliver to their own bookshop, and therefore you avoid e-commerce. Obviously, e-commerce is an issue for publisher, and it's an issue for sustainability. We need to see. We need also, one of the things we have been hearing, or I have been hearing from the printers, is do we need to change the format and the size and the paper for every single book we publish? Can we rationalize, and so we don't have those many wasted paper that is not directly usable? So that's something that the publisher should be thinking. I mean, is it an incentive for the reader that the book has a different size or a different type of paper? And is it easier, is it feasible, or is it working? But I think we need to be talking about that. I was reading when I was coming here that in France there's an organization who is looking at creating paper from it's not blackberry, it's mûr. This is blackberry. It's not a blackberry, but it's a berry which is black, and which you have some material who can come out of the. So, and they are doing quite paper that can be thick enough to be to do a cover. So it's not that bad. So obviously it's very limited production at the moment, but maybe we need to think about different type of paper. Then for us, for the sector, and I heard the circular economy, of course, this is all virtuous, but is it so virtuous when the people are sending books across Europe to a warehouse where in packages, those packages are open, it's being stored, then it's being repackaged and sent in the other side of Europe? we have also to think that this is lost revenue both for the authors and the publishers. We're no longer at the lovely second-hand bookshop where you would going into dusty collection and finding something exceptional. This is becoming an industry, and we believe that it may require some rules, although I'm not calling for more EU rules, because I think that no, we have to be able to apply those who are already existing. We've also been told by a lot of publishers that they would love to print in Europe, but the production facilities don't exist in Europe for certain books any longer, or they would be so expensive that, especially I'm thinking of children's book, that it would be impossible to sell books at that prices to the European readers. So is this something, when we look at competitiveness of Europe and on the investments that we have to do in Europe, is there something we have to look at? Can we recreate the knowledge and the expertise to produce things in Europe? And can we maybe have some support to do it, at least in the beginning, the first years, in order to, well, not to force the publisher to go abroad. Probably I'm thinking more of China. So is this something worth thinking for the public authorities of bringing back that knowledge? All that has to be discussed. I'm not sure that with the forthcoming Commission and the Parliament this will be so easy. I think we will have a less environmental friendly Parliament, and we will see all those files will be discussed. It's early. I mean, it's early hours. They just appointed the President and Vice President of the Parliament, so no, we're waiting to see if Madame von der Leyen will be confirmed, and then what will be the priority of our 5 years mandate. And then to conclude, what can we do as the Federation of European Publishers? Well, I mean, basically what Enrico told you earlier, we can inform, we can share best practices. We need that the publisher and the Publisher Association help each other. The thing is, even if Spain was not on the map that Enrico showed you, it's relatively easy for larger countries to build tools for their members so that they can improve here on sustainability, but on many other issues. One of my concerns is, of course, is that knowledge is spread all over Europe and is spread also to the smaller member states who have by no means the capacity to do that. So I think that our role is that we can gather the information and share it. Obviously, it is up to the publisher, it is up to the society as a whole to decide on whether they want to go on that journey or they want to go to the catastrophe which is being announced, or at least slow the catastrophe. Yeah, we as FEP, we're having this complicated role of both having to, I was going to say accept, but maybe it's not the right word, but we have to, when the deforestation directive comes to the fore, we realize the complexity it will bring to the publisher. We realize also that it's a moral and a social duty for publishers to be alongside the rest of society in the, I have to close, in this journey, but we have also to seek that the publishers are able to do it. And that is not so easy a role. We need the support of the publishers, and we need the understanding of the public authorities that one thing I'm sorry, I'm hearing the music, but I think I think what's really important is that sustainability should not be seen as something against society. It's something for society. And it has to be accepted by whether the companies or the individual as something that will not improve in a short term, but on a long term, their life, even irrespective of this huge climate crisis. And I think that this is something we have also to explain to the civil servants in Brussels, that this is a journey we have to do together, and we have to do it constructively. And on that, I see that I've run out of my time. So thank you very much.